scramble to get it back on and running. But I think we're good at this point. I gave a little thought to what I'm going to read today. And it boils down to, I think, about 4 poems. I know it's okay, it's 14, and I can read for about 15 minutes. I hear is my time allotment. So, this is my latest book. It's called Far Other, and it's a project book in the sense that I wanted to write a book where reading my way through the Confessions by St. Augustine. And it just so happened that I read my way through Confessions by St. Augustine through the pandemic. So a lot of interaction in the book between the COVID-19 pandemic and my own sort of spiritual and intellectual struggle with the text. And one of the poems, especially that I'm going to read today, has that in it. In a more intense way than the others. But I'm going to go ahead and get started with a couple of poems in the first section, which I put together to give readers a sort of context and feel for the larger body of my work, which is centers on and is more closely involved with my glioblastoma brain tumor diagnosis, which carries with it a 14.6 month median life expectancy. And so I've been alive now for about 7 years with a brain tumor that was supposed to have killed me effectively in 2015. And every time I read, I make mention of it because it really is a miracle that I'm alive. And in fact, I found a publisher for this 6th collection of poems in a hospital bed. I had a new wave of symptoms come out of nowhere in October, and I ended up going through the emergency room at St. Luke's Medical, and I knew I had to find a publisher because I didn't think that I was in a good position, that I didn't think I was going to live. I thought, to me, I thought that it was over, that finally the inevitable recurrence had come. So here are a couple of poems from the first section about my cancer. The first of these is called To the Patron Saint of Phlebotomy. Separate my platelets, my lymphocytes, my red blood cells. While I eat time capsules decaled like model airplanes, you build thunderheads of scar tissue in my arm crook. 5 days a week, I swallow. Your nose cones plunge into the pit of my stomach, releasing payloads of prayer beads. 5 days a week, I take my shot of tequila, a Hail Mary. I take my rat poison the way I take my leave, the way I take my coffee, drip by drop, like an oil spill in the driveway. And then the next one in that same vein is called Description of a Typical Day for My Continuing Disability Report. On a typical day, I wake up with cancer. I spoon coconut oil onto polymer. My iceberg of healthy, natural fat pirouettes above a spreading puddle. If my cancer cells require glucose, I give them ketones. I beat ketones into my eggs. On a typical day, I drink 6 cups of coffee, pouring them out of my thermos, little by little, into stoneware. I reserve the morning of a typical day for psalms of blastoma, the songs of my cells, an uncontrollable division of angels on the head of a pin, the tip of a needle. I fill moleskine after moleskine with the concrete details of a typical day, its dishes hot out of the washing machine, the smell of laundry in the nostril of the exhaust fan, a rusty spade left out in the rain. So that ate up some time. And I'm gonna flip to the last of 4 sections, and read a poem called "A Lowly Habitation." And this poem is about the body, and it's about specifically the lowliness of the body from the point of view of St. Augustine. The first couple of images, lowly clay pot and coat of skin, are his, not mine, and I borrowed them to get a jump into the poem. And my children also come into this one. A lowly habitation. I expose my lowly clay pot, my coat of skin, to the jolts of the wind. Nubby leaves of Chinese parsley waggle in the patio table pot. I tend to my little plot of flesh, peeling off polyester dress socks, pulling on the crinkly sleeves of a windbreaker. Lowly as it is, I love my body as Christ loved his hands, his dark arboreal recesses. It's a shock to be born. Omi spends most of her time screaming at her body, its rolls of leg fat, the creases in her groin. I look down at the baby in my arm crook, her kinked brow, her mewling lower lip. Theodore runs full force into the driveway's pained face, its painful way of saying, if you ask me to hold you, I will texture the palms of your hands, splotch and bleed them, not gladly or with any sort of malice, but just because I am a driveway and you are made of screeching eels. Maybe this touch of your knee to my beautiful blend of tiny stones is the essence, the gravel bed of Christ below the wood form of the cross. And then here's a poem more about my daughter. I think this is a poem that has little in it other than her. That this is mainly a poem about my daughter. And it's funny, Tresha and I talked in our interview about St. Augustine's take on infancy, and it's very interesting because he essentially thinks that infants are the evidence of evil, that their crying and their selfishness is just like original sin. And this poem, I think, is very starkly on the other side of that. It's called Frequencies. During her first week, Naomi will sometimes fall into a sort of glassy-eyed reverie, an intense expression of listening to a frequency beyond my range, the wind whistling in the pipe holes of the basketball goal, the snow crackling below the interrogation light of the sun. Little tridents of a bird's footprints on the front stoop. Burrs of frost on the gate latch, the wisteria vine. Whatever it is she's picking up on, whatever the secret whispered in her ear, the room's so quiet it could just explode. And that one's kind of fun to read. But I think I might have time for one more. And I read this more than one more. I was trying to be conservative. I know that others have come to read as well. Then I will go ahead and read two more. This one is called Home Loan Application, and it's a kind of a fun cross pollination between the experience of the predatory financial climate in the U.S. in trying to acquire a home loan, and breaking my arm by accident on a nature walk in April of last year. Home loan application. Debt collectors and credit lenders. Triage scissors glide flat-jawed through the exam room, parting cotton pad and co-bind. For 2 weeks, the plaster cupping my elbow pooled blood into a mud pit, a pothole collecting brown rainwater. For 5 years, my wife and I have sheltered in place. Radiology riddled with children we don't know what to do with. Now the cast comes off, bears my creases of red skin, imprinted labyrinthine as a river system. The river system of a fingertip. My prints suggest a squiggly roadmap to recovery. But there's no way out of this bear trap. I get lost looking for the scheduler's desk in a forest of phone calls. No physical therapist alive will take my health insurance. My firm assurance of yes, I swear to God I'll pay you back. Stretch the bruised banana of my arm until it breaks. Even SSI is a needs-based program. And then what I confided in Tresha was my favorite poem of the book. Comes toward the end, and it's kind of a simple poem. I think that it's important. One thing I commented on it to her about is that, in my mind at least, it's a poem about trying to make a poem when it's really hard and the conditions are not good for that at all. I have 2 young children, and those are a couple of the conditions that I probably had in the back of my mind while attempting to make this poem, and finally succeeding just on the basis of my own ability to surrender. And it's called Magenta After Magenta. I sort of got a little traction in my attempt to make a poem when I looked up the etymology of the word magenta. And as it turns out, it's named after a town, which is named after a battle. And so the epigraph of the poem is, because the dye was discovered the year of the battle. Magenta after magenta. Because the dye was discovered the year of the battle. Stop trying to make it work. Don't try. It will be all right. Just melt. Allow yourself to melt. be moments. Water. Wait for whatever. Whatever knows best. Bless. Be less. Be little. Forget. Death will be like this forgetting. This orange blink behind your eyelids. Serviceberry pink. Almost magenta. The sapling planted for my unborn daughter has buried in an orchard in magenta. The color of the battle of I. Close my eyes. Bury me here. Really good argument for that being the best. I mean, the last poem of the book, but I think there's another one that comes after that. So thanks for having me, for letting me read and unburden a little bit with you guys. I guess I'll turn it over to the others that have come to read this evening.
All right. Yeah, Cameron, thank you again so much. It's such a pleasure hearing those pieces again. And again, if you haven't yet, please do check out our interview with Cameron Morse. And if you're here, that means you're probably on our email list, and we